What if I told you that money is not something you have to chase, struggle for, or toil endlessly to obtain? What if the key to unlocking wealth isn't about working harder, working longer, or even waiting for the perfect opportunity to arise? What if I told you that all you need to do is change the way you think about money, shift your inner assumption, and start living as if the wealth you desire is already yours? The truth is, the money you seek is not outside of you, it's within you, waiting for you to recognize it. The moment you stop chasing money and start living as though it's already yours, everything will begin to shift. You see, money, like everything else in this world, is a reflection of your inner world, of your beliefs and assumptions. If you constantly believe that money is something you need to chase, it will always seem just out of your reach. You will find yourself stuck in a perpetual cycle of effort and striving, unable to truly grasp the abundance that is already available to you. But if you change the way you see money, if you start living in the assumption that it is already yours, you will begin to witness the world shifting around you. This is not some abstract idea. This is the law of reality. When you live in the assumption that money is already yours, you stop focusing on the lack of it. You stop thinking of it as something you need to obtain and start thinking of it as something you already possess. Your mind cannot tell the difference between what is imagined and what is real. And so by imagining yourself as a person who already has the wealth you desire, you align yourself with that reality. The power of your mind is the power of creation. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your assumptions are shaping your reality whether you realize it or not. If you were to stop for a moment and really think about it, you would realize that the money you want is not out there somewhere waiting to be found. It is a concept, an idea that lives within you. The only reason you do not see it is because you are not yet living in the assumption that it is already yours. When you shift your belief about money, you will begin to see opportunities, ideas, and circumstances align to support that new assumption. Imagine yourself as someone who has already attained wealth. What would that person think? How would they feel? How would they act? When you start to live as though you already have everything you desire, you begin to embody the reality of that wealth. This is not a fleeting wish or a passing desire. This is a deep and persistent knowing. It is the assumption of your own success, and that assumption creates the conditions for success to unfold in your life. Your imagination is the key to unlocking this power. If you can imagine yourself in the circumstances you desire, feeling the emotions of already having that wealth, you begin to create a new reality. You are not waiting for money to show up in your life. You are actively creating the conditions that will bring it to you. Your mind, when directed toward a specific goal or assumption, will begin to attract the people, events, and opportunities that align with that vision. The law of attraction, often misunderstood, is simply the law of assumption in action. Whatever you assume to be true will eventually become true in your life, as the universe has no choice but to mirror your beliefs. But the key here is to persist. You cannot assume wealth for a brief moment and then return to the mindset of lack. You must live in the assumption that money is already part of your life at all times. It is not enough to think about your desire once in a while or to entertain the thought of wealth when you are feeling inspired. To truly transform your reality, you must consistently embody the feeling of already having what you desire. The universe responds to persistence, to a sustained belief that the assumption you are living in is already reality. This may feel difficult at first, especially if your current circumstances reflect the opposite of your desired outcome. But remember, the outer world is simply a reflection of your inner assumptions. It is not fixed and it is not permanent. It can change at any time. The moment you begin to assume that wealth is already yours, the world around you will begin to reflect that assumption. It is like planting a seed in the soil. At first, you may not see any evidence of growth, but with time and persistence, the seed will sprout and grow into the reality you have created. Many people fall into the trap of thinking that money is something that is earned through hard labor and effort. They believe that they must struggle to achieve wealth, and in doing so, they create a reality in which struggle and lack are ever present. But in truth, wealth is a state of being, not a result of working harder or longer hours. The moment you decide to live in the assumption that you are already wealthy, you are aligning yourself with that state of being. Wealth, like all things, is attracted to those who embody it. When you are living in the state of wealth, you will naturally attract the circumstances, opportunities, and people who support that assumption. Living in the assumption that money is already yours requires a shift in mindset. It means letting go of the belief that money is something you have to work endlessly to obtain. It means stepping into the certainty that what you desire is already yours. This does not mean that you will not take action. It simply means that your actions will come from a place of abundance, not from a place of lack. You will be guided to the right opportunities, the right people, and the right actions, but they will come to you effortlessly because you are no longer in the mindset of chasing. The moment you stop chasing money and start assuming it is already yours, everything will change. The opportunities you once sought will begin to find you. The people who can help you will appear in your life. Money will flow into your reality as naturally as the air you breathe. The more you embody this assumption, the more real it will become. Money is not something you need to chase. It is something you call into your life by living as though it is already part of your experience. The power lies not in your effort, but in your assumption. And when you assume that money is already yours, you will watch as the world mirrors that assumption, bringing you wealth in ways you could never have imagined. Now, take a moment to think about wealth in the same way. It is like this vast, abundant ocean waiting for you to dive in, to claim it as your own. But too often, people are hesitant to step into the waters of abundance because they believe it is something distant or unattainable. They stand on the shore thinking that money is something outside of themselves, something they must work hard to obtain. But the truth is, money, like the ocean, is already there for you to claim. It is an abundance that is always present, waiting for you to realize that it is yours to swim in, to live in, and to enjoy. We are taught to believe that wealth is something we must struggle for, something that must be earned through sweat, effort, and sacrifice. And while hard work is certainly valuable, the idea that money is only available through struggle is a limiting belief that keeps many people from fully embracing the abundance that is available to them. This belief in scarcity, this feeling that there is not enough to go around, is the very thing that keeps wealth out of reach. But when you shift your thinking, when you start to assume that money is already a natural part of your life, you begin to unlock the flow of abundance. The first step is to understand that wealth is not something outside of you. It is not a distant goal to be achieved by working hard and hoping that someday you'll reach it. Wealth exists within you as an idea, as a state of being, and the moment you begin to live in the assumption that wealth is already part of your life, your reality will begin to shift to match that assumption. The key is to start with your inner world. If you want to experience wealth on the outside, you must first experience it within yourself. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have for creating your reality. It is the starting point for everything you experience. Your thoughts and beliefs shape the way you see the world, and more importantly, they shape the world that is reflected back to you. If you believe that money is something that you must work endlessly for, that belief will create a reality where money is always just beyond your grasp. But if you change that belief, if you begin to live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, your external circumstances will begin to shift to align with that new assumption. Wealth is not something that comes from the outside. It is a reflection of your inner state. When you begin to assume that you are wealthy, that money flows to you easily and effortlessly, you begin to change your relationship with wealth. Your actions, your decisions, and even the people you attract into your life will all begin to reflect the assumption that you already possess abundance. The more you live in that assumption, the more real it becomes. The world is a mirror, and it reflects back to you the beliefs and assumptions you hold in your mind. The key to attracting wealth is not to chase after it, but to live in the assumption that it is already part of your experience. When you live in this assumption, you stop looking for external signs or evidence that money is coming. Instead, you trust that it is already yours. This shift in thinking is incredibly powerful because it removes the sense of lack and struggle. When you stop seeing money as something you need to work for, and instead begin to see it as something you already have, you open the door for it to flow freely into your life. Imagine how different your life would be if you stopped worrying about where the next dollar would come from. Imagine if instead of thinking about what you lack, you focused on what you already have, your talents, your resources, your ability to create. The more you focus on what you have, the more you attract. When you assume that wealth is already part of your experience, you begin to see opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that align with that assumption. Money flows, not because you are constantly chasing it, but because you have created a state of mind in which money is natural, expected, and inevitable. This is the power of assumption. It's not about hoping or wishing for wealth. It's about living in the assumption that it is already yours. When you do this, you stop waiting for the perfect circumstances, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect moment. You stop living in anticipation of when things will change. Instead, you live as if the change has already happened. You live as if the wealth you desire is already present in your life. The more you embody this assumption, the more quickly it will be reflected in your external world. This process is not about forcing or struggling. It is about relaxing into the knowing that you are already a wealthy person. The moment you accept that you are already in a state of abundance, the universe begins to respond. Opportunities that were once hidden begin to appear. The people you need to meet, the resources you need to access, and the circumstances you need to thrive all begin to show up, and they will show up because you have shifted your inner state. Is the moment you stop chasing money, you stop chasing it in your mind. And when you stop chasing it, you allow it to come to you. And the same way that the ocean is always present, abundant, and ready to embrace you, wealth is always available to you. The only thing that stands between you and that wealth is your belief that it is outside of you, something you need to chase or work for. But once you step into the knowing that it is already yours, you open the floodgates for money to flow into your life with ease and grace. The more you assume that you are wealthy, the more wealth will show up in your life, and it will do so effortlessly. Have you ever found yourself caught in the idea that wealth comes only from hard work, that it is something earned through struggle, persistence, and effort? It is so deeply ingrained in many people's minds that the only way to attain wealth is by tirelessly working for it. We live in a world that teaches us to work longer hours, to hustle, and to sacrifice in the hope that we will one day achieve the financial success we desire. But what if I told you that this belief is one of the biggest barriers to true abundance? What if I told you that wealth is not earned through effort, but attracted through a shift in your state of mind, your assumption, and your belief? This is a key shift that needs to be made. The idea that you must work hard for money limits your ability to receive it. It creates a reality where you are always working and never truly enjoying the abundance that is available to you. The truth is, money is not a result of hard work alone. It is a result of a mindset that is aligned with abundance. It is not about how many hours you put in, how much effort you exert, or how much you sacrifice. It's about the assumption you hold about money and the way you think about wealth. When you continue to think that money must be earned through hard work, you are holding onto a belief that keeps you in a state of lack. You are believing that there is not enough to go around, that you must fight for what you want, and that you must sacrifice in order to receive. This belief creates a cycle of struggle, and the more you believe that money is something you must work hard for, the more difficult it will be for you to experience abundance in your life. But the moment you release that belief, the moment you stop thinking of money as something you have to work hard to obtain, everything begins to change. Money is not something that is earned through struggle. It is attracted through the state of being you create. When you assume that wealth is already yours, that you are already in a state of abundance, the universe responds. You begin to attract opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that match your new belief. You don't have to sacrifice your time or energy for money. Instead, you can attract money by shifting your focus to the feeling of already having it. This is the key. Money is a reflection of the state of being you hold. When you embody the feeling of abundance, when you live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, you begin to attract wealth without even trying. This is not about how much effort you put into obtaining wealth, but how much effort you put into embodying the feeling of already having it. Let me give you an example. Imagine you are a person who constantly worries about money, who spends every day thinking about how you are going to pay your bills or how you are going to make ends meet. You are focusing all your energy on the lack of money, and as a result, you continue to create a reality where money is always hard to come by. Now imagine you shift your mindset and begin to live as though money is already abundant in your life. You focus on the feeling of having more than enough, on the idea that wealth flows effortlessly to you. When you do this, you are no longer living in a state of lack, and the universe begins to mirror this new state of being. Opportunities come to you, money flows in ways you didn't expect, and things begin to fall into place with ease. The attracting wealth is not working harder. It is living in the assumption that wealth is already part of your reality. It is aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with that assumption. When you shift your belief to one of abundance, you begin to attract everything you need to bring your desires into reality. The more you assume that you are wealthy, the more wealth will begin to show up in your life, often in ways you never imagined. This is not to say that action is not important, but action that is aligned with the assumption of wealth will be effortless and inspired. When you are living in the assumption that money is already yours, the actions you take will come from a place of certainty and confidence. You won't be struggling to make things happen. Instead, you will be guided to the right people, opportunities, and circumstances that align with your new state of being. Your actions will flow naturally, and the results will reflect the state of abundance you have assumed. Think of it this way. When you are in a state of abundance, you are no longer chasing after money. Instead, you are allowing money to flow to you. You are not desperately trying to make ends meet or working yourself into the ground. Instead, you are living as if you already have everything you desire, and as a result, the universe brings it to you. Wealth is not something you need to struggle for. It is something you align with through your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. This is the power of assumption. The moment you assume that wealth is already yours, you begin to create the reality where it is already yours. The outer world is a reflection of your inner state. When you change the way you think about money, when you shift your assumption to one of abundance, your outer world must change to reflect that assumption. It is a law of nature that what you assume to be true in your mind will eventually become true in your experience. This is where many people go wrong. They believe that they must see the money before they can believe they are wealthy. They wait for the physical manifestation of wealth before they allow themselves to believe in it. But the truth is, the physical manifestation is the result of your assumption. It is not the cause. When you live in the assumption that money is already yours, the universe must respond by bringing that assumption into reality. The idea that wealth is something that must be earned through hard work is a belief that keeps people stuck in a cycle of lack and struggle. The truth is, wealth is a natural part of your life, and the only thing standing between you and it is your belief that it is not. When you change your belief, when you assume that wealth is already yours, you will find that money begins to flow to you effortlessly. Imagine waking up each day not with the weight of financial worries pressing down on you, but with the deep knowing that you are already surrounded by abundance. What if you could live each day as though the wealth you desire is already yours? This doesn't mean waiting for some external event to confirm your belief in abundance, but living as if it has already arrived. It's a shift in mindset, a way of being, that begins not with actions, but with your inner assumption. The most powerful aspect of this transformation is the realization that you are already in possession of what you desire, and it is only a matter of time before the outer world reflects this truth. Now, living as if the money you want is already yours requires a deep trust in the unseen. It requires faith in your ability to manifest abundance through the power of your assumptions and beliefs. The challenge for most people lies in the fact that their circumstances often tell a different story. They may look at their bank accounts and see a lack of funds, or they may be struggling to meet financial obligations. In this moment, it becomes easy to believe that the reality they see is the only one that exists. But the truth is, what you see around you is simply a reflection of the beliefs you hold inside. Your external circumstances are not set in stone. They are fluid, and they can change at any time, as soon as you change the way you view them. To live as though the money you desire is already yours means to walk, think, and feel as though your desires have already been fulfilled. This is not a fleeting thought or a passing wish, but a deep, constant knowing that wealth is your birthright and that it is already on its way to you. You begin to act from this place of certainty, making decisions and taking actions from a position of abundance rather than from a place of lack. It is the simple act of embodying the feeling of having what you desire, of seeing your dreams as already realized. When you truly live as though wealth is already part of your experience, the universe cannot help but align with this state of being and bring you the opportunities, the people, and the circumstances to make it a reality. For many people, the thought of living in such a way feels difficult. They may say, "How can I act as if I am already wealthy when my bank account says otherwise?" But the key here is that your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner world. When you begin to feel wealthy, when you embrace the feelings of security, abundance, and freedom that come with wealth, you are sending a powerful message to the universe. You are telling the world that you are ready to receive, and the universe responds by aligning you with circumstances that match your inner state. The secret is that wealth, like everything else, begins as an inner assumption. You do not need to see physical evidence of your desires in order to believe they are possible. In fact, it's often the belief in something that creates the evidence, not the other way around. When you live as if wealth is already yours, the circumstances around you will begin to align with that belief. People and opportunities that were once invisible to you will suddenly appear. Money that seemed out of reach will flow into your life in unexpected ways. But this doesn't happen because you're chasing after it or working harder for it. It happens because you are living in the assumption that it is already yours and the world must reflect that. This is where many people get stuck. They believe that they must see the money first in order to believe it is coming. They wait for the check to arrive or the opportunity to show up before they allow themselves to feel abundant. But the truth is, the check, the opportunity, and the money itself are simply manifestations of your inner assumption. They are the outward result of the inner belief that wealth is already yours. The moment you begin to live as though money is already in your life, the outer world must follow suit. It has no choice but to reflect the assumption you are living in. It's important to remember that living as though money is already yours is not about pretending or pretending to be something you are not. It's about genuinely aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the belief that wealth is a natural part of your experience. It's about feeling the emotions of already having what you desire and allowing that feeling to guide your decisions and actions. When you live from this place of certainty, your actions become effortless. You no longer feel the need to force things to happen because you know that they already are happening. Living as if the money you want is already yours also means trusting the process. Often, people become frustrated when they don't see immediate results. They may think, I've been assuming wealth for days and nothing has changed. But the reality is that change is already happening on a deeper level. The universe works in ways that are often unseen at first. When you begin living from the assumption of abundance, you are creating the conditions for your desires to manifest. The world may not change overnight, but as you persist in living as though wealth is already yours, you will begin to see the first signs of change. Opportunities will appear. People will show up who can help you. Circumstances will shift, and the money will flow in ways you never expected. One of the most powerful aspects of living in the assumption that money is already yours is the confidence and security that comes with it. When you know that you are already wealthy, you no longer feel the need to worry about how things will turn out. You live with the certainty that everything you need is already on its way. This mindset not only helps you to attract money, but it also helps you to make decisions with clarity and confidence. You will find yourself taking inspired action, acting from a place of security and self-assuredness rather than from fear or doubt. So living as though the money you want is already yours requires a deep level of trust in yourself and in the process. It means releasing the need to control the outcome and allowing the universe to bring your desires to you in the perfect way. When you stop waiting for money to appear and start living as though it is already present, you step into a state of ease and flow. You stop chasing, stop striving, and simply allow wealth to come to you. When you live from the assumption that money is already yours, you are opening the door to a life of abundance and fulfillment. The money will come, the opportunities will arrive, and your desires will manifest, not because you are forcing them, but because you are already in alignment with them. It's not about waiting for the money to show up before you feel wealthy. It's about feeling wealthy now and allowing that feeling to create the conditions for wealth to flow into your life. And when you do, everything changes. In this space of infinite potential, every thought you entertain is a brushstroke. Every belief you hold is a color you choose to mix into your masterpiece. The canvas doesn't decide the outcome. It is simply a reflection of the energy you choose to pour into it. Just as a skilled artist can transform a blank canvas into a breathtaking work of art, you have the power to transform your life by simply changing the thoughts and beliefs you hold. The secret lies in your ability to live as though your desires are already realized, to paint your life with the assumption that the wealth you seek is already yours. Many people are caught in the habit of waiting for the world to change before they begin to feel abundant. They look at their bank account, their job, or their circumstances and assume that their external reality determines their inner state. But the truth is, the external world is simply a reflection of your inner world. What you see outside of you is a mirror of the assumptions and beliefs you hold inside. And just as a painter must first envision the finished painting before applying the brush strokes, you must first envision your desired reality before it can be reflected in the outer world. The key to transforming your financial reality is not to wait for things to change on the outside, but to change how you see yourself and your circumstances from the inside. The idea that wealth comes from hard work and external effort is a deeply ingrained belief in many people. It's a belief that has been passed down for generations and reinforced by society, yet it is one of the greatest obstacles to manifesting abundance. The moment you begin to live in the assumption that money is already yours, you free yourself from the notion that you must work tirelessly or struggle to acquire wealth. Instead, you realize that money is not something you need to chase or work for. It is something that you attract by becoming the person who already has it. This is where the power of assumption comes into play. Assumption is not just a hopeful thought or a passing wish. It is a state of being that you embody with full conviction. When you assume that wealth is already yours, you are not waiting for something to happen or for some external sign to appear. You are living in the state of already having. It's not about hoping for a change or working harder for it. It's about assuming that the change has already taken place. And in this state, everything begins to shift. Think of a seed planted in the soil. The seed doesn't worry about whether it will sprout or when it will grow. It simply follows the natural law of growth. The moment it is planted, the process of growth begins, though it may not yet be visible. The same is true when you assume that money is already yours. The moment you begin to live in that assumption, the process of manifestation begins. It may not yet be visible in your bank account, but just as the seed is already growing beneath the soil, your wealth is already in the process of manifesting. This is why the feeling of already having what you desire is so important. It is not enough to think about wealth or to wish for it. You must feel as though it is already a part of your life. This feeling is the energy that creates the conditions for wealth to flow into your experience. When you begin to feel the security, freedom, and joy that comes with having money, you begin to attract those same circumstances into your life. The more you live in the assumption that wealth is yours, the more the universe aligns to bring that reality to fruition. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop looking at wealth as something external to you. Many people live their lives with the belief that money is something they must earn through hard work or struggle. But this belief keeps them trapped in a cycle of lack and limitation. Money, like everything else, flows from the inner world to the outer world. When you change the way you see yourself and your relationship with money, you change the way money flows into your life. When you stop seeing money as something you have to chase and begin seeing it as something that is naturally attracted to you, the world begins to reflect that belief. Living in the assumption that money is already yours is a practice of shifting your focus away from what you don't have and focusing instead on what you already possess. It's about cultivating an attitude of gratitude for the abundance that is already present in your life, no matter how small it may seem. When you focus on the wealth that you already have, whether it's your talents, your health, your relationships, or your opportunities, you begin to attract more of the same. So the universe responds to your focus, and when you focus on abundance, abundance flows to you. One of the most significant challenges people face is the habit of constantly checking their current circumstances for evidence that their desires are coming true. They look at their bank account, their job, or their financial situation, and they see only lack. This can be discouraging and can make it difficult to believe that their desires will ever be realized. But the key is to stop looking at the outer circumstances and start focusing on the inner state of abundance. The more you focus on the feeling of already having what you desire, the more quickly it will appear in your life. The external world must reflect the state of being you hold inside. When you live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, you stop worrying about how it will come or when it will come. You trust that the universe is already bringing it to you. Just as a plant grows naturally once the seed is planted, your wealth will grow naturally once you plant the seed of assumption in your mind. The process of manifestation is not something you need to control or force. It is something that unfolds naturally as a result of your belief. It is important to remember that the universe works in harmony with the assumptions you hold. When you assume that wealth is already part of your experience, you align yourself with the flow of abundance. You are no longer chasing after money because you have already stepped into the experience of having it. And when you live from this place of abundance, you become a magnet for wealth, opportunities, and success. The world around you begins to reflect your inner state, and the wealth you have assumed becomes your reality. Think for a moment about the way you approach opportunities. Most people, when faced with a potential opportunity, start by questioning it. They wonder whether it will work out, whether they're truly capable, or if they deserve the success it promises. This questioning is a habit that many are taught from an early age. It's instilled in us that opportunities are not guaranteed and that, in order to seize them, we must first prove ourselves worthy, capable, and deserving. However, this way of thinking does not align with the natural flow of abundance in the universe. The truth is that opportunities are not given to us based on how hard we work or how deserving we are. They are attracted to us based on the state of mind we choose to live in. Opportunities are not limited, they are abundant. and they are available to everyone. The key to unlocking them, however, lies in your perception of yourself and your own worth. The opportunities that come into your life are a reflection of the belief you hold about yourself and your ability to receive. When you assume that wealth and abundance are already yours, you open the door for opportunities to flow effortlessly into your experience. This is not to say that you should passively wait for opportunities to fall into your lap. Instead, it's about shifting your mindset so that you are ready and willing to recognize and act on the opportunities that present themselves. The universe will never fail to bring you the right opportunities, but it's important to be in the right state of mind to receive them. The more you live as though your desires are already fulfilled, the more clearly you will see the opportunities that are waiting for you. And the more you align with the assumption that wealth and success are already yours, the more easily you will take inspired action toward those opportunities. Most people are taught to believe that opportunities must be worked for, that success requires constant effort, and that wealth is something to be earned. While it's true that effort can yield results, it's also true that constant effort without alignment will only lead to burnout and frustration. The key is to align your thoughts and beliefs with the opportunities that are available to you. The moment you stop chasing after opportunities and start assuming they are already on their way to you, you will begin to notice that the right opportunities come into your life at the right time. They will show up effortlessly, and when they do, you will have the confidence to act on them. The process of attracting opportunities is not about forcing things to happen or struggling to create them. Instead, it's about shifting your focus from lack to abundance. When you focus on the idea that everything you need is already available to you, the universe begins to respond. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach will suddenly become clear and accessible. You will begin to see the resources, connections, and circumstances that align with your goals. The key is to stay in the assumption that you are already where you need to be, and that everything you desire is already on its way to you. It is important to recognize that the opportunities you attract are a direct reflection of the state of mind you hold. If you are constantly worried about not having enough or not being enough, you are focusing on the lack of opportunities rather than the abundance that is available to you. In order to attract the right opportunities, you must first change the way you think about yourself and the world around you. Instead of seeing the world as a place of limitation, see it as a place of endless possibilities. Opportunities are always available. They are simply waiting for you to recognize them and act on them. When you begin to assume that success is inevitable, that wealth is already yours, and that opportunities are constantly presenting themselves, you begin to attract those opportunities. The more you live in this assumption, the more you will notice that opportunities come to you without struggle. You will no longer have to chase after them. They will find their way to you. The more you live in the belief that you are already abundant, the more you will see that everything you need is already within reach. This is the power of living in the assumption that your desires are already fulfilled. By aligning your thoughts, beliefs, and actions with the idea that wealth and abundance are already part of your experience, you open yourself to the flow of opportunities. The universe responds to your inner state. And when your state of mind is aligned with abundance, opportunities appear in your life like a natural unfolding. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach are now easily accessible because you have shifted your focus to what is possible rather than what is lacking. The next step is to trust that the opportunities you attract are the right ones for you. It can be easy to second-guess yourself or doubt your ability to recognize the right opportunity, but this only causes resistance. Trust in the process and trust in your own ability to act on the opportunities that come your way. When you are in a state of assumption, you don't need to worry about whether or not the opportunities are right for you. You simply know that they are, and you trust that they will guide you toward your goals. By acting with confidence and faith, you align yourself with a flow of abundance and create the space for even more opportunities to present themselves. The idea of chasing after opportunities is a concept that keeps people in a state of lack and limitation. When you chase after something, you are essentially telling the universe that you don't believe it will come to you unless you work hard for it. This belief creates resistance and pushes the very thing you desire further away. The key is to stop chasing opportunities and start allowing them to come to you. By living in the assumption that success is already yours, you align yourself with the flow of abundance, and the opportunities you need will find their way into your life naturally. It's also important to recognize that opportunities come in many forms. They may not always look exactly like what you expect, but when you are in the right state of mind, you will recognize them for what they are. The universe does not deliver opportunities on your timeline. It delivers them when you are ready. Trust that everything is happening in perfect timing and that the opportunities you need will arrive when you are in the right mindset to receive them. When you live in the assumption that wealth and success are already yours, you stop focusing on what you lack and start focusing on what is already available to you. Opportunities flow easily to those who are aligned with abundance. And when you trust in the process, you will begin to see that the right opportunities will come to you at the perfect time. The moment you shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance, you open the door to endless possibilities and create the space for opportunities to manifest in your life. Most people wait for validation from the world before they feel confident. They wait for the bank balance to rise, for the job to come through, or for external signs of success to appear before they allow themselves to feel secure. But the truth is, confidence does not come from the outside. It comes from the inside. Confidence is the result of living as though what you desire is already yours, of assuming that the wealth, the success, the opportunities you seek are already a part of your life. When you begin to live in this assumption, everything in your world begins to reflect that belief, and your confidence naturally follows. The way to build lasting confidence is not by waiting for the external world to prove that your desires are being realized. Instead, it is through the assumption that what you seek is already here. The moment you step into the assumption that success is inevitable and that wealth is already yours, you begin to experience a shift in your energy. No longer are you in a state of doubt, fear, or uncertainty. Instead, you are anchored in the knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly, that all you need is already on its way to you. This is the essence of true confidence. Not relying on what you can see or touch in the outer world, but trusting in the unseen forces at work that are aligning your reality with your desires. Confidence is not about pretending or faking it until you make it. It is about genuinely living from the belief that you are worthy of everything you desire and that it is already yours. It is about stepping into the person you would be if you already had the wealth, the success, and the abundance you desire. When you step into this mindset, the world begins to reflect your inner state, and the confidence you feel becomes evident in everything you do. This shift requires a change in perspective. Most people live with the belief that they must prove themselves to the world in order to deserve wealth or success. They believe that they must work hard, struggle, and sacrifice in order to earn their desires. But this belief creates a cycle of striving and struggle that prevents them from fully realizing their potential. The truth is, you do not have to prove your worth to the world. You are already worthy. Your desires are already meant for you. The moment you step into the assumption that success is yours, you align with the natural flow of abundance, and the world begins to deliver opportunities and results that reflect your inner state. Now, living with this assumption requires a deep level of self-trust. It means trusting in your ability to create the life you desire without needing external validation. When you trust yourself and live in the belief that you are worthy of everything you desire, you become a magnet for abundance. Opportunities begin to present themselves, and the people, resources, and circumstances you need show up with ease. The key to attracting wealth, success, and opportunities is not through force or struggle, but through the assumption that they are already yours. Confidence also comes from the ability to trust the process. It is easy to become frustrated when things don't appear to be changing in the way we expect. We may look at our circumstances and feel discouraged, wondering why the money or the success hasn't shown up yet. But the reality is that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When you live in the assumption that your desires are already realized, you trust that the universe is working behind the scenes to bring them to you. Your job is not to control the outcome or worry about how it will happen. Your job is to live in the feeling of already having what you desire and to trust that everything is aligning to bring it into your experience. Confidence also involves letting go of the need for perfection. Many people wait until everything is perfectly aligned before they take action. They think they need to have all the answers, all the resources, and all the circumstances in place before they can move forward. But this kind of perfectionism only holds them back. The key to building confidence is to take action, even if things aren't perfect. When you take action from the place of already having what you desire, you send a powerful message to the universe that you are ready to receive. You show the universe that you are willing to act from a place of certainty, even before the evidence of your desires is visible. And as you take action with confidence, the world begins to respond, bringing you closer to the fulfillment of your desires. When you are confident in the assumption that your desires are already fulfilled, you no longer have to second guess yourself. You no longer have to wonder if you're on the right path or if you're making the right decisions. You simply know that everything is unfolding as it should. Confidence comes from the knowledge that you are the creator of your reality, that everything you desire is already within your reach, and that you are worthy of receiving it. As you live in this assumption, your confidence naturally grows, and the world around you begins to reflect that confidence. Building confidence is not about striving or forcing things to happen. It is about stepping into the assumption that everything is already in alignment, that success is inevitable, and that wealth is already yours. It's about trusting in the unseen forces that are working to bring your desires to fruition. And it's about taking action from a place of certainty, knowing that the universe is already aligning everything perfectly for you. As you continue to live in the assumption that your desires are already realized, you will begin to notice a shift in your energy. You will feel more confident, more secure, and more at peace with where you are. And as you continue to embody this confidence, the world around you will begin to reflect it. Opportunities will flow to you effortlessly, and success will feel natural, not forced. The key is to trust yourself, trust the process, and live from the assumption that everything you desire is already on its way to you. Confidence is the result of living in the knowing that your desires are already fulfilled, and once you step into this state of being, the world will align with you in ways you could never have imagined. Think about the nature of reality for a moment. Most people look at the world through the lens of what they can see, hear, or touch. They rely on their senses to tell them what is real and what isn't. But reality, as we understand it, is not merely what is perceived through the senses. What is truly real is not what we see before us, but what we believe to be true. Our beliefs, thoughts, and assumptions shape the way we experience life. If you were to look closely at the experiences in your life, you would begin to see that the world around you is reflecting your inner state. Every situation, every circumstance, and every opportunity is a result of what you hold in your mind. The idea that your outer world must align with your inner world is one of the most powerful truths you can grasp. When you begin to shift your inner beliefs, the outer world must follow suit. At the core of every human being is the ability to create. You have the power to create your reality, not by manipulating the world around you, but by simply changing how you see yourself and what you believe about your circumstances. Your thoughts and beliefs are the creative forces that shape your life. What you think, believe, and assume to be true about yourself and your world is what you will experience. It is this creative power within you that shapes your reality. If you want to change your life, the first step is to change the way you think and the assumptions you hold about yourself, your circumstances, and your potential. Take a moment to think about the way you see money. For many people, money represents something distant and elusive, something they must work tirelessly for or chase after. They look at their financial situation and see only what is missing. They see the lack of money as their reality, and so that reality is reflected back to them in their experience. But the truth is that money, like anything else, is simply a reflection of your inner state. It is not something you must chase after. It is something you must attract by changing your mindset and living in the assumption that it is already yours. This is the essence of creating abundance. When you live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, the outer world has no choice but to reflect that belief. The universe does not give you what you desire because you work harder for it or because you deserve it. It gives you what you assume to be true. Your life is not a result of external forces beyond your control. Your life is the result of the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you hold about yourself and the world around you. Think of a magnet. A magnet attracts metal because it has the internal property that allows it to do so. It doesn't struggle to attract the metal. It doesn't work hard at it. It simply has the assumption that it can attract metal, and as a result, it does. The same principle applies to you. When you live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, you begin to attract it without effort. The more you embody the state of already having, the more naturally wealth flows to you. Money becomes a byproduct of your belief, not something you must chase or struggle to earn. This is where many people get stuck. They believe that they must work tirelessly to earn money, or that they must strive to prove their worth before they can be wealthy. This belief comes from the misconception that money is scarce and that there is a limited amount available. But this belief is rooted in a false assumption. In reality, there is no shortage of wealth in the universe. There is more than enough for everyone. The only limitation is in the beliefs and assumptions you hold about your own worthiness and ability to receive. When you begin to live in the assumption that wealth is already yours, you release the struggle. You no longer chase after it. Instead, you begin to attract it. Money, like everything else, is drawn to those who are in alignment with abundance. When you stop focusing on lack and start focusing on abundance, you shift your energy to one of receiving rather than striving. This shift in energy is what allows wealth to flow into your life effortlessly. But how do you live in the assumption that money is already yours? The first step is to stop focusing on the current state of your finances. Most people spend their time looking at their bank accounts, bills, and financial obligations, and they allow these circumstances to dictate their feelings. When you focus on what you don't have, you only attract more of the same. Instead, begin to shift your focus to what you desire, not what you currently have. Start living as though the money you desire is already in your possession. Imagine how you would feel if your financial goals were already realized. How would you act? What choices would you make? What would you say to yourself? The more you can embody the feeling of already having, the more quickly it will manifest in your life. It's important to understand that this is not about pretending or faking it. It's about genuinely living from the belief that your desires are already fulfilled. The moment you begin to live from this state, your energy shifts. You no longer feel the need to chase after money or worry about where it will come from. Instead, you trust that it is already on its way, and you begin to see the opportunities and resources around you that align with your desires. This assumption also has a ripple effect. When you begin to live in the assumption that money is already yours, you begin to attract more than just money. You attract the opportunities, people, and circumstances that will help you manifest your wealth. You will begin to notice doors opening where there were once obstacles. You will start to see solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. The world around you will begin to reflect your new assumption that wealth and abundance are already yours. The power of assumption is one of the most potent forces in the universe. It is the force that shapes your reality, that brings your desires into being. The more you live in the assumption that money is already yours, the more quickly and easily it will come into your experience. The universe responds to the assumptions you hold, that when you assume that wealth is yours, it has no choice but to reflect that belief back to you. This doesn't mean you sit idly by and wait for money to appear. It means that you take inspired action, knowing that your actions are in alignment with your desires. The key is to act from a place of certainty, knowing that the money is already on its way. When you act with this certainty, you make choices that align with your desires, and the universe begins to bring the resources, people, and circumstances that will help you manifest your wealth. When you embody the assumption that money is already yours, you are not waiting for something to happen. You are living as though it has already happened. This shift in mindset is the key to unlocking the flow of abundance. The world around you will begin to reflect the assumption you hold, and before long, the wealth you desire will show up in ways that seem effortless and natural. Just as a magnet effortlessly attracts metal, you will effortlessly attract the wealth and opportunities you seek. The key is to live in the assumption that it is already yours and trust that the universe will align with your belief. In understanding the power of assumption and belief, we recognize that the life we experience is not dictated by the external circumstances we face, but by the inner convictions we hold. Every moment is an opportunity to align our thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions with the reality we wish to create. When we shift our focus from external validation or effort and embrace the certainty that what we desire is already ours, we open the door to a life of abundance and ease. Because the process of manifestation is not about chasing after the things we want, but rather about embodying the belief that they are already ours. By living from this state of knowing, we allow the world around us to mirror this truth and reflect back the success, wealth, and opportunities we seek. True confidence stems from within, from the unshakable belief that everything you need and desire is already on its way to you. It is not about waiting for external circumstances to change, but about stepping into the assumption that change is already here. As you trust in your ability to create your reality, you will begin to notice the world aligning with your assumptions. This is the natural flow of abundance. When you live in the feeling of already having, the universe must respond to that energy and bring your desires into form. Ultimately, your assumptions are the key to unlocking the life you desire. Money, success, and abundance are not distant goals to chase, but present realities to claim. The more you embody the belief that these things are already yours, the more easily and naturally they will manifest in your life. The universe does not wait for you to be perfect, nor does it require struggle. It simply reflects what you believe to be true. The power is in your hands, in the thoughts you choose to think and the assumptions you decide to live by. Choose wisely, live fully in the assumption of your desires already being fulfilled, and watch as your reality transforms before your eyes.